This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Happy Reformation Day. Prepare to see what you're not going to see. This is Wretched Radio tonight on NRB TV, on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Wretched Network. You're going to hear the Masters University Choir. Magnificent. We'll give you a little sneak peek of that later. Dr. Steve Lawson preaching on the history of the Protestant Reformation inside of the Wretched Studios. Also spectacular. This actually hit the cutting room floor. Broke our heart, but we only had an hour, and so we had to cut out the tenebras. We got to the looks, the light of the Protestant Reformation, the great work that the sinful reformers did, but we weren't able to give the backstory, so you're going to get it right now. This from the Wretched Reformation celebration, cutting room floor. Gives you an idea of how good it is, because this is just magnificent stuff. Steve Lawson, the gospel lost, the Bible gone, the church a mess, the year 1500, but it keeps getting worse.
To add to the darkness of the hour, as the church would meet, the entire service was in Latin. No one knew Latin except those who were highly educated. It was the language of the classroom. So as the farmer, the blacksmith, the shopkeeper would come to church, the service was in a language that no one knew. The preaching was out of a Latin Bible. There was not even a Bible in the language of the people.
You say, I can't relate to that. Well, if you will, it's sort of like listening to, if you can call it a sermon from Rob Bell. It's like, I know that's like a human sound, but I don't understand the language. Does that kind of give you the gist of it?
That's how ignorant the people were of the truth. The preaching was in Latin. The Bible was in Latin. The service was in Latin. And even the communion cup, which in reality was Mass, was withheld from the people, and only the priesthood could take of the cup. Mass itself was the chief cornerstone of their false religious system, which said that that the cup, the wine in the cup and the bread was the literal blood of Christ that is continually flowing from His side, that His death upon the cross was not final, so therefore it was not sufficient. It was an inferior sacrifice to take away sin. And so you had to keep coming back to the altar, and that's what it was. It wasn't a communion table. It was an altar upon which a sacrifice was continually being made. The whole system was rotten. There was not the gospel, there was not truth, and it was the year 1500, and the people were held captive by the Roman Catholic Church.
But wait, the history is even worse. How dark was it in 1500? Well, not only was the Roman Catholic Church busy really just perverting theology, twisting it so that it was unrecognizable. That's the reality of it. But there was more to it that made it so dark. And that was the violent aspect of the Roman Catholic Church. This tends to get overlooked by many. It shouldn't. We need to remember that a church that is not orthodox is bound to be wicked, and so it was. The bloody history of the Roman Catholic Church. Let me just read for you very quickly, because this can become tedious, but I think it's important to get the impact of this, to recognize how violent the Roman Catholic Church was. The year 1096, Crusaders slaughter half the Jews in Worms. Luther had a diet there. In 1098, Catholic Crusaders slaughter almost all of the inhabitants of the city of Antioch. This was a part of the Roman Catholic Crusades. Now, we recognize that there was the Islamic invasion, the capturing of Jerusalem. I understand all of that history, but we're talking about the church here. We're actually talking about onward Christian soldiers. By the way, there's a church in Great Britain. It's a Church of England. They no longer want to sing that song because it could be offensive. Been singing it for 100 years. Now, I don't think that was a crusader-like song. Onward Christian soldiers marching as to war with the blood of Jesus, not to go out and slaughter people, but to engage in spiritual warfare, to propagate the gospel. The church has no business amassing armies and going and reclaiming land, as I can understand their sentiment. Can't you? We see what's going on all over the globe with Islam these days, and we long for there to be peace. We don't want the Islamic terrorists taking over, but it's not the church's job to stop that. The Roman Catholic Church decided it was in 1092. I do believe it was Pope Urban II. He's the fellow who kicked off the first Crusades. Now, I'm sharing this because this is, again, the Roman Catholic Church. And you can say, well, it's good that they, for instance, in 1099, killed 70,000 Muslims and Jews in Jerusalem. No, it's not, because that's not the church. That's the government's job if it is a just war, not the church's job. 1208 through 1226, the Albigensian Crusades, southern France. The Crusaders slaughter about 20,000 citizens of Béziers. I'll bet that was just massacred right there. Beziers, France, on July the 22nd, 1209. By the time the Roman Catholic armies finished their crusade, almost the entire population of southern France, which was mostly Albigensian Christians, why? Because they didn't agree with Roman Catholic theology, had been exterminated. You wonder today, well, why isn't France affected by Protestant Reformation? Well, that would be one reason. They were all slaughtered or driven out in the Crusades. 1236, Roman Catholic Crusaders slaughtered Jews in the Anjou and Poitou lady in the regions of western France, trampling to death under their horses 3,000 Jews who refused baptism. That's the history of the Roman Catholic Church. It is a violent, bloody history. 1243, Roman Catholic mobs burn alive all the Jews in Berlitz, Germany. It's near Berlin. 1298, Roman Catholic mobs burn alive all Jews in Rottingen, Germany. 1349, they burned to death all Jews in Germersheim, Germany. 1348, the Jews are blamed for the bubonic plague, rounded up by Roman Catholic mobs and hanged, burned, and drowned by the thousands in revenge. 1389, Roman Catholic mobs murder 3,000 Jews in Prague when they refused to be baptized. These were theological crusades that they were waging. And the Inquisitions, these were typically connected with the Inquisitions. When it was a crusade, they would go and just slaughter the masses or just move them out en masse, drive them out of the land. The Inquisition was a kangaroo court. You'd be put on trial for your profession or lack thereof. You'd be thrown in jail. You would be tortured until you would profess and say, I want to be baptized to become a Catholic. If not, you would be executed as part of the Inquisitions. That's what typically happened to the Jewish people. They were the victims of the Inquisitions. That's why, was it Mel Torme? Mel Brooks sang about it. The Inquisitions, what a show. He had every right to. 1481 through 1483, getting closer, aren't we? At the direction of the Roman Catholic Inquisitors, authorities burn at the stake 2,000 people during the first 2 years of the Spanish Inquisition. 1540 through 70, 30 years, if you recall, Roman Catholics butcher at least 900,000 Waldensian Christians. 1550 through 1560, Roman Catholic troops slaughter at least 250,000 Dutch Protestants, torturing them, hanging them, burning them. 1553 to 1558, Bloody Queen Mary of England. 200 men, it was about 280, some I believe, 250, 280 men and women are burned to death at the stake or drowned. They're hung. It include women and children. Hold on, not done. 1572, St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. French Roman Catholic soldiers begin killing, you guessed it, Protestants in Paris. The soldiers kill at least 10,000 Protestants first 3 days and 8,000 more. 1618 through 1648, a 30-year war. This bloody religious war, planned, instigated, orchestrated by the Roman Catholic Jesuits in an attempt to exterminate all the Protestants in Europe. They lose up to half of their population in many countries in Central Europe. 1641 to 1649, 8-year Jesuit-instigated Roman Catholic butchery of Irish Protestants. At least 100,000 Protestants. Why isn't Ireland more Protestant? 1685, French Roman Catholic soldiers slaughter approximately 500,000 French Protestant Huguenots on the orders of Roman Catholic King Louis XIV of France. Was it dark before light shone through the Protestant reformers? Oh, it was dark theologically, and it was just plain dark. Bloody dark. As we celebrate the Protestant Reformation on Wretched Radio. Shout out to our gospel partners. It is your ongoing monthly support that allows us to do Wretched Radio every single day and provide the broadcast, the entire program, for free to anybody on iTunes, Android, or at our website. Thank you for being a gospel partner. If you enjoy or benefit from Wretched Radio, would you please consider joining those partners so that we can continue to preach the gospel? Simply visit wretched.org.